The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the windshield wipers working overtime. I am Cadell, 44, and I work as a software architect in Seattle. Usually I love the rain, it's calming, a good backdrop for coding. But tonight it just mirrored the storm brewing inside me. I'd been married to Nesta for 15 years. We met in college, young and full of dreams. She was studying to be a therapist, always the compassionate one, the listener. I was the quiet coder, happy to let her shine. We built a good life, a comfortable one. A nice house in the suburbs, 2 kids, a golden retriever named Gus. But lately things felt off. Nesta had been distant, working late more often, and her explanations were vague. Just a lot of demanding patience, Cadell, she'd say, her eyes flitting away from mine. I wanted to believe her, I truly did. But my gut was screaming otherwise. It started with a misplaced receipt. A fancy restaurant downtown, a place Nesta and I had never been. Just a lunch with a colleague, she'd brushed it off when I asked, but the seed of doubt had been planted and it began to grow. Then came the late-night texts. Her phone would buzz and she'd clutch it like a lifeline, disappearing into another room to respond. When I asked who it was, she'd say, "Just a friend." But her voice would be tight, her smile strained. I felt like I was living with a stranger. I confided in my best friend, Florin, over beers one night. "You're being paranoid, Cadell," he said, but I saw the worry in his eyes. Florin had always been the practical one, the voice of reason, but even he couldn't deny the obvious. Something was wrong. "Maybe you should just talk to her," he suggested. "Tell her how you're feeling." I tried. God, I tried. But every time I brought it up, Nesta would shut down, accusing me of being insecure, of not trusting her. "After all these years, Cadell, you still don't trust me," she'd say, her voice dripping with disappointment. And I'd back down, feeling guilty, like I was the one in the wrong. But the feeling persisted, gnawing at me, refusing to be ignored. Then I found the burner phone. It was hidden in the back of Nesta's closet, tucked away in an old shoebox. A cheap, disposable thing, the kind you buy at a gas station. My heart hammered in my chest as I turned it on. It was password protected, but I knew Nesta's birthday. I typed it in, my hands shaking. The phone unlocked, and there it was, text messages, dozens of them, all from a single number. "I can't stop thinking about you. I miss you so much. I wish I could be with you right now." My blood ran cold. I scrolled through the messages, each one a dagger twisting in my heart. They were explicit, intimate, filled with a longing that Nesta had never shown me. I felt sick, betrayed in a way I never thought possible. Who was this person? Who was my wife? I looked at the number, memorizing it. I had to know. I had to find out who she was betraying me with. The next day at work, I was a zombie. I couldn't focus, my mind racing, replaying the messages over and over again. I knew I couldn't confront Nesta without knowing the truth. I needed to find out who this person was. I asked Florin, who works in IT security, if he could trace the number. He hesitated. "Cadell, are you sure you want to do this? Once you know, there's no going back." "I have to know, Florin," I said, my voice tight. "I can't live like this anymore." He agreed reluctantly. A few hours later, he called me. "I found something," he said, his voice grim. "The number is registered to a prepaid account, untraceable, but I was able to pull some data from the phone's IP address when it was last used." He paused. "It pinged off a cell tower near Nesta's office, Cadell. Specifically the one near Dr. Theron's practice." Dr. Theron, Nesta's boss, the head of the clinic where she worked. A wave of nausea washed over me. It couldn't be. Theron was older, in his late 50s, married with grown children. He was a respected figure in the community, a mentor to Nesta, but the evidence was undeniable. My wife was having an affair with her boss. I felt a rage building inside me, a burning fury that threatened to consume me. I wanted to confront them, to scream, to destroy everything. But I knew that wouldn't solve anything. I needed to be smart, to gather evidence, to plan my next move. I decided to hire a private investigator. I found one online, a guy named Jorgen who seemed discreet and professional. I met him in a dimly lit coffee shop downtown, explaining my situation, showing him the text messages. He listened intently, nodding occasionally. "I can get you the proof you need," he said, his voice low and confident. "But it's not going to be cheap." I didn't care about the money, I just wanted the truth. Jorgen started his investigation immediately. He followed Nesta, tracked her movements, took photos. He gave me updates every few days, each one a punch to the gut. Nesta was meeting Theron for lunch, going to his office late at night, even spending weekends at a secluded cabin in the mountains. The evidence was mounting, irrefutable. I felt like my heart was being ripped out piece by piece. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I was a shell of my former self. I tried to act normal around Nesta, to pretend that everything was okay, but it was killing me inside. The lies, the deception, the constant betrayal, it was too much to bear. One evening Nesta came home late, her face flushed, her hair slightly disheveled. "Long day at work," she said, avoiding my gaze. I couldn't take it anymore. "Who is he, Nesta?" I asked, my voice trembling. She froze, her eyes widening in panic. "What are you talking about, Cadell?" she stammered. "Don't play dumb with me," I said, my voice rising. "I know about Theron, I know about everything." She burst into tears, collapsing onto the couch. "It just happened," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." "How long, Nesta?" I asked, my voice cold. "How long has this been going on?" She hesitated. "A few months," she whispered. "A few months," I repeated, incredulous. "A few months of lying, of sneaking around, of betraying our marriage." She didn't answer, just continued to cry. I felt a wave of disgust wash over me. This woman, this person I had loved and trusted for 15 years, was a complete stranger. "I want you out," I said, my voice firm. "I want you out of this house. I want a divorce." She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. "Cadell, please," she begged. "Don't do this. We can work through this. I'll stop seeing him, I promise." "It's too late, Nesta," I said, shaking my head. "You broke my trust. You destroyed our marriage. There's no going back." The next few weeks were a blur. Lawyers, paperwork, accusations. Nesta moved out, taking only a few belongings. The kids were devastated, confused. I tried to explain as best I could, but it was impossible for them to understand. They loved their mother, and they couldn't comprehend why she would do something like this. I felt like I had failed them, that I had let them down. I moved into the guest room, unable to bear sleeping in the bed Nesta and I had shared for so many years. The house felt empty, cold, filled with the ghosts of our past. Jorgen, my private investigator, continued to gather information. He discovered that Theron had a history of affairs, that he had preyed on vulnerable women in the past. He was a serial cheater, a manipulative predator. I felt a surge of anger, a desire to expose him, to ruin him the way he had ruined my life. I met with Jorgen again, discussing my options. "You could sue him for alienation of affection," he said. "It's a long shot, but you might have a case." I considered it, but decided against it. I didn't want to drag the kids through a messy legal battle. I just wanted to move on, to put this nightmare behind me. But I couldn't let Theron get away with what he had done. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I started digging into Theron's background, using my skills as a software architect to uncover his secrets. I hacked into his email account, his financial records, his personal files. What I found was shocking. Theron was not only a cheater, but he was also a crook. He was embezzling money from the clinic, using it to fund his lavish lifestyle. He was also involved in some shady real estate deals, laundering money through offshore accounts. I had enough evidence to bring him down, to destroy his career, to send him to prison. I debated what to do. Should I go to the police? Should I expose him publicly? Or should I just walk away, let him live with his guilt? I decided to confront him. I called Theron, telling him I knew everything, that I had proof of his crimes. He tried to deny it, to gaslight me, to convince me that I was wrong. But I didn't back down. I told him I was going to the authorities unless he confessed, unless he made things right. He panicked, begging me not to ruin his life. He offered me money, a settlement, anything to keep me quiet, but I wasn't interested in money. I wanted justice. I gave him an ultimatum: confess to his crimes, resign from the clinic, and seek professional help. If he didn't, I would expose him to the world. He agreed, reluctantly. A few days later, Theron confessed to his crimes. He resigned from the clinic and an investigation was launched. He was eventually charged with embezzlement and fraud, facing years in prison. Nesta was devastated. She lost her job, her reputation, everything. She tried to apologize, to explain her actions, but I couldn't forgive her. The trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. I focused on my kids, on rebuilding our lives. It was a long and difficult process, but we got through it. I started seeing a therapist to deal with the emotional fallout of the betrayal. It helped me to understand what had happened, to process my anger and pain. I realized that Nesta's affair was not about me, that it was about her own insecurities and flaws. It didn't excuse her actions, but it helped me to move on. I started dating again, cautiously. I met someone new, a woman named Cosmina, who was kind, compassionate, and honest. She was a breath of fresh air, a reminder that there was still good in the world. We took things slowly, building a relationship based on trust and respect. I learned from my past mistakes, communicating openly and honestly, never taking anything for granted. It took time, but I eventually found happiness again. The scars of Nesta's betrayal will always be there, but they no longer define me. I am stronger, wiser, and more resilient because of what I went through. I am grateful for the lessons I learned, for the love I found again, and for the future that lies ahead. Looking back, the rain doesn't seem so bleak anymore. It still falls in Seattle, but now, sometimes, I see a rainbow in it. A reminder that even after the darkest storms, there is always hope for a brighter tomorrow.